Must watch how she reacts when you lose interest. Nobody tells you this. Psychology tricks. Nothing reveals the truth faster than the moment you stop trying. There's a turning point most men never notice, not when you chase, not when you confess, but when you quietly pull your attention away. When your interest fades, a woman doesn't just feel your absence, she feels the loss of the version of herself that existed when she knew she had you. Logic doesn't guide her reaction. Emotion does. Your change in energy shifts everything, her tone, her behavior, the way she looks at you. You're no longer predictable, no longer orbiting her world. You become uncertain, unreadable, and impossible to control. At first, she pretends not to care, but inside, doubt grows. Why did he change? Why isn't he trying? What if he's done? Comfort turns into insecurity. Control turns into tension. Women don't chase men who chase them. They chase men who walk away calmly, without explanation. She may stay silent, but her actions will reveal the truth. Because when a man stops chasing, it exposes what she truly felt all along. Section 1. She acts unbothered, but inside she's spiraling. When a woman senses that your interest has faded, her first response is almost always a performance, and you must understand this clearly if you want to grasp the deeper layers of female psychology, because on the surface she appears calm, collected, untouched, yet beneath that polished exterior, a quiet storm begins to form. Don't be fooled by the smile. Don't be distracted by the normal posts or the casual delays in her replies, because what you are witnessing is not indifference, but protection, a carefully constructed shield designed to preserve her self-image and keep her dignity intact. She tells herself, it doesn't matter. She may even say it out loud. She convinces her friends that she saw it coming or that she's simply busy now. That is not confidence. That is containment. Be aware that emotional balance often depends on perceived connection, and when that connection shifts without explanation, it creates internal friction that she cannot ignore. You must realize that the moment you pull back, the unspoken agreement she relied on is disrupted, and while she won't chase immediately, she will analyze relentlessly, replaying conversations, rereading messages, questioning tone, timing, and meaning, because uncertainty is far more unsettling than rejection. Don't assume silence means peace. Silence often means calculation. She acts unbothered because appearing unaffected gives her a sense of control when the dynamic no longer feels stable, and control, even imagined control, offers temporary relief. This is one of the quiet psychology tricks that rarely gets discussed, yet it sits at the core of attraction and distance. Be patient. Be observant. Her delayed responses are not always disinterest. Sometimes they are tests, subtle attempts to restore balance without exposing vulnerability. She may pull back just enough to mirror you, not to punish, but to see if the emotional weight returns to the scale. That is how to fall in love begins to reverse itself when uncertainty enters the picture, because attraction thrives on clarity, not confusion. You must understand that many women are conditioned to appear composed when emotional security wavers, especially if they believe the connection was moving in a favorable direction. So she maintains routines, keeps up appearances, and projects ease, even as a small crack forms internally where reassurance used to live. Don't confront too quickly. Don't assume too much. Let the shift reveal itself. This stage is delicate, and female psychology responds strongly to perceived withdrawal, not because of ego alone, but because meaning becomes unclear, and meaning is what anchors emotional investment. She wonders what changed. She wonders if she missed a signal. She wonders if this is temporary or final. That wondering is powerful. That is where psychology tricks quietly operate, not as manipulation, but as natural responses to altered emotional patterns. Be steady. Be intentional. When interest fades, it doesn't simply disappear. It transforms the entire dynamic, forcing her to reassess her place in it. And while she may look unaffected, the internal recalibration is very real. That is why this moment matters more than most people realize, because it determines whether distance dissolves attraction or deepens it. If you want to understand how to fall in love in a mature, grounded way, you must respect this phase, not rush it, not dismiss it, and not misread it as apathy. Appearances lie, patterns speak, and in female psychology, the calm you see on the outside is often the result of intense reflection happening quietly within. Section 2. Her curiosity turns into obsession. After she puts on that calm face and convinces the world she's fine, something far more intense quietly switches on inside her mind. And this is where the story really begins, because curiosity doesn't knock politely, it takes over. Be clear about this. When your interest fades, she doesn't relax, she sharpens. She begins monitoring you quietly, not like someone scrolling out of boredom, but like someone searching for meaning in small details. She studies your movements, she observes your timing, she scans your behavior with a level of focus she never needed when your attention felt steady. That is the shift. Your loss of interest pulls her out of emotional comfort and drops her straight into emotional alertness. And women operate with remarkable precision when something important feels like it's slipping away. Don't expect questions. Don't expect confrontation. She won't ask what's going on. She won't bring it up directly. And she certainly won't admit she's affected, but her mind fills with questions she cannot silence. Why the change? When did it start? What did she miss? This curiosity isn't playful. It isn't casual. It comes from fear, not fear of losing you as a person, but fear of losing the emotional security she believed she had earned. She thought she understood your rhythm. She thought your attention was stable. She thought she had time, space, and leverage. Now uncertainty has entered the room, and uncertainty is the trigger that turns her mind into a detective. She checks your social media more often, not out of jealousy at first, but out of confusion. She's not hunting for rivals, she's hunting for clues. She watches your stories the moment they appear. She views your content silently. She notices your mood, your activities, the people around you, and she becomes intensely aware of your presence even when you're not speaking to her. Be aware of this dynamic. Your fading interest has made you unpredictable, and unpredictability is one of the strongest catalysts for attraction in female psychology. A man who suddenly pulls back becomes a question mark, and the female mind does not tolerate unanswered questions. It fixates, it loops, it obsesses. She replays your last conversations, searching for emotional shifts she may have overlooked. She wonders what triggered the change. She asks herself if she said too much, asked for too little, or misread your level of investment. The same woman who acted indifferent now becomes internally consumed, and during this stage she grows sensitive to everything you do. If you post confidently, she feels pressure. If you seem busy, she feels left behind. If you appear unbothered, she questions her appeal. If you look happy without her, she feels unsettled. That is contrast at work. Women don't obsess over men who chase them endlessly. They obsess over men whose emotional state they cannot decode. You have become that man, whether intentionally or not. This is where the idea of a high-value man quietly shows itself, not through words, not through explanations, but through emotional self-control and consistency with oneself. Be grounded, be calm. Masculine energy is not loud here. It is steady, and steady presence without over-explanation is deeply disarming. But understand this clearly. She will not reach out yet, not until she gathers enough information, not until she believes your loss of interest is real. Pride won't let her chase openly. Self-respect won't allow vulnerability too soon, yet her curiosity keeps pulling her closer, quietly, invisibly, constantly. This is the stage where you are on her mind far more than she is on yours. Without texting, without calling, without doing anything at all. You now occupy her emotional universe and she resents that she cares, but she does. And soon curiosity turns into something stronger, desire mixed with fear. This is why men who understand how to attract women don't rush, don't overcorrect, and don't panic when silence appears. They stay centered, they stay purposeful. That is what separates a reactive man from a high-value man. Masculine energy here is restraint, not withdrawal out of spite, but calm certainty in your own direction. Be intentional. Don't chase clarity through explanation. Let your consistency speak. This phase is powerful because it's invisible, and if you handle it well, attraction deepens without force, without persuasion, and without pressure. If this message resonated with you, take a moment to support the channel. Like this video, share it with someone who needs clarity, and subscribe for more insight into human behavior and attraction. Most importantly, leave a comment below with this affirmation to lock the lesson into your mindset and strengthen your emotional frame. Comment to remember: I stay calm, centered, and confident. My presence creates curiosity and respect. When you affirm this, you remind yourself that you don't need to chase, explain, or prove anything. Your steadiness speaks, your silence has meaning, and your emotional clarity keeps you grounded while others try to decode you. Comment it now and let the algorithm and your mindset work in your favor. Section 3. She panics internally and starts testing you. When a woman senses that your interest is no longer guaranteed, something subtle but powerful happens inside her. And this is where most men misread the moment and lose control, because what looks like calm on the surface is often quiet tension underneath. A mental recalibration where certainty fades and curiosity turns into internal pressure, not loud, not emotional, not obvious, but deeply felt. And because she doesn't want to admit uncertainty, because pride and self-image won't let her say, "I miss your attention," or "I'm unsure about my place with you," she begins to observe you instead, to test you, not to cause harm, but to gather truth, to measure your frame, to see whether the man she felt slipping away is truly grounded or just playing a phase. And this is where psychology becomes real life, because these tests show up as small shifts: delayed replies to see if you rush back, colder tone to see if you seek warmth, emotional distance to see if you close the gap. Each move is a question without words, and sometimes the tests are sharper: mentioning another man, posting something meant to draw attention, sending a dry message that feels off, all designed to provoke a reaction, because reactions reveal more than answers ever could. And here is the rule men must understand if they want to master relationships and life itself: people only test what they value. No one tests what they don't care about. And this moment marks a shift in power, because your absence created contrast, your calm created gravity, and your restraint created uncertainty, and uncertainty awakens attention. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." And that strength is exactly what she feels when you don't flinch, when you don't chase, when you don't explain yourself unnecessarily. Because calm is rare, discipline is attractive, and emotional steadiness signals security in a chaotic world, especially in modern life, where attention is cheap and reactions are everywhere. And when you hold your frame, when you respond with intention instead of impulse, her internal pressure grows, not because you're trying to control anything, but because you are no longer predictable, and predictability kills curiosity, while self-mastery fuels it. This is Old Stoic wisdom applied to modern dating, and Old Stoic wisdom always wins because it is rooted in self-command, not manipulation. And this is how Stoicism win moments are created: not through force, but through restraint, not through noise, but through presence, not through fear, but through confidence that doesn't beg to be seen. And when she notices that the man who once rushed is now steady, that the man who once overgave now chooses, that the man who once reacted now observes, a quiet question forms in her mind: what changed? And that question keeps working long after the conversation ends, because silence handled well is louder than words. And Epictetus said it clearly: first, say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. And what you must be in this moment is composed, intentional, and unshaken. Because every test is an opportunity, every pause is a mirror, and every calm response reinforces your value. And this is where men between 35 and 70 have an advantage if they choose to use it. Because life has already taught you that chasing drains you, reacting weakens you, and staying centered strengthens you. And this applies not just to relationships, but to business, family, health, and purpose. Because an iron mind is built by repetition, by choosing patience over impulse again and again, by remembering that you don't need to prove interest to maintain connection, and that confidence doesn't announce itself, it shows through behavior. And when you live this way consistently, you don't just pass her tests, you rise above them. Because the goal is not to win approval, the goal is to maintain self-respect. And respect changes dynamics naturally. As Seneca reminded us, he who is brave is free. And freedom is what she senses when you don't need her validation to feel complete. And that freedom is magnetic. And this is why Old Stoic wisdom still works today, because it builds an iron mind that doesn't crumble under emotional pressure, an iron mind that allows you to lead your life with clarity, direction, and calm authority. And when you embody this, when you let Stoicism win in your daily choices, you stop reacting to tests and start setting the tone, and the world, including her, adjusts accordingly. Section 4. She tries to pull you back emotionally. When you lose interest, something fascinating happens. She doesn't just move on like a robot, because her pride starts arguing with her feelings, and when her usual tests don't work, she often shifts almost automatically into emotional retrieval, not as some grand plan, but as an instinctive reach to pull you back without looking exposed. That's the tension at the heart of female psychology. Her pride wants distance, her emotions want closeness, and when those two can't agree, her behavior turns conflicted in a way that can confuse men who aren't paying attention. One day she's suddenly warmer, kinder, more attentive, like the volume on her sweetness got turned up, and it's not random. It's a strategy that doesn't want to admit it's a strategy. She might compliment you in a way that sounds casual but lands heavy. She initiates conversations for no reason, except there is a reason. She asks about your life, your schedule, your health, your plans, because information equals connection, and connection equals control over certainty. She brings up memories, inside jokes, shared moments, that old restaurant, that one trip, that one line you said that made her laugh. These are emotional hooks, and they're a classic set of psychology tricks that don't look like tricks because they're wrapped in nostalgia. Don't dismiss it as meaningless chatter. Be honest, she's testing the temperature. That is the real question behind the small talk. Do I still matter to him? And she wants the answer without having to ask it directly. And if she doesn't go the warm route, she may go the sideways route. Irritation, sarcasm, passive comments like, "Wow, you really switched up," or "I guess you're too busy now." Don't take those lines as pure anger. Be smarter than that. That is vulnerability wearing armor, a protective layer that lets her express hurt without handing you the power of seeing it plainly. You must understand this. A woman usually doesn't react when she feels nothing. Reaction is proof of investment. Silence, especially when it's new, forces introspection. Your absence becomes a mirror she can't avoid, and suddenly she's imagining your attention landing somewhere else, on another woman who didn't have to earn it, who is receiving what used to be hers. That picture stings, not because she's losing a prize, but because it threatens identity. She compares herself to the version of herself you once adored, then compares that version to who she's being right now, and that gap can feel frightening. Don't gloat, don't punish, be calm and observant. That is where the real shift happens in female psychology. She tries again, sometimes with a photo accidentally sent at the perfect time, sometimes with playful flirting that seems light but carries weight, sometimes with emotional hints, just enough to pull you toward her, not enough to make her look needy. It's a careful dance. She wants closeness, but she wants to keep dignity intact, so she reaches with one hand while pretending the other hand isn't reaching at all. You must see the pattern without becoming cold. Don't overreact to the bait. Don't reward mixed signals with desperate chasing. Be steady. Be respectful. Be a man who can read the room. Because the point isn't to win against her. It's to understand what's happening so you can respond with intention instead of impulse. If you want to rebuild attraction, don't talk in circles and don't give sloppy reassurance. Clarity is magnetic. If you want to keep distance, don't play games either. Clean boundaries beat dramatic exits every time. And if you want love, real love, then remember, love doesn't grow from panic or confusion. It grows from safety, consistency, and a little bit of mystery that isn't cruelty. That is how to fall in love the right way, not by chasing the loud moments, but by honoring the quiet truth underneath them. Many men get stuck reacting to the surface, sarcasm, warmth, flirtation, without seeing the engine driving it. She's checking if she still matters, if she's still chosen, if the bond is still alive. These psychology tricks aren't always manipulative. Often they're a clumsy attempt to protect herself while reaching for connection. Don't label her. Don't judge her. Be the man who understands that pride and emotion can collide inside a person and create confusing behavior, and your job is to decide calmly what you will and won't participate in. If you respond with maturity, you either guide the relationship to something healthier or you exit cleanly, and either way you win. And if you're trying to build something lasting, keep this close. How to fall in love isn't a stunt, it's a practice. Show up with standards, speak plainly, stay grounded, and let actions match words. That combination is rare, and rarity is attractive. If this opened your eyes to what really happens when you pull back, don't just watch and forget, lock it in. Drop a comment right now and write this exact line. I don't chase reactions, I choose my value. Like the video, subscribe for more sharp psychology insights, and remember this every time you go silent. When she reacts, it's not random, it's awareness awakening. Section 5. She breaks the mask and reveals her truth. When a woman senses that your attention has shifted, something profound happens. And this is where most men misunderstand the moment, because this stage is not about games or tricks. It is about truth surfacing under pressure, and pressure always reveals reality. The mask cracks, not because you attacked, but because you stepped forward in your own life. And as Marcus Aurelius reminded us, the best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury, meaning real power is growth, not reaction. And when you grow, people around you feel the change immediately. Her pride loosens its grip, the tests lose their edge, curiosity replaces certainty, and suddenly she cannot maintain the performance she once relied on, because certainty made her comfortable, but uncertainty forces honesty. And now her words slow down, her tone softens, her presence becomes deliberate, not automatic, because she realizes something critical that many men never grasp. You were not fading, you were evolving. And that evolution activates fear, not because she lost control, but because she misjudged value. Women do not fear losing men they never respected. They fear losing men they assumed would remain unchanged, always available, always predictable. And when that assumption collapses, behavior changes fast because value reasserts itself. Seneca said, "Luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity." And this moment is exactly that, because your preparation was inner discipline, self-respect, and direction, and the opportunity is seeing clearly without ego. She reaches out more directly now, not indirectly. She asks real questions, not playful ones. She apologizes without theatrics. She confesses without strategy. And this is not manipulation, it is panic, born from realization, the realization that you were never secured, never owned, never guaranteed. And that realization rearranges the dynamic completely. This is where Old Stoic wisdom becomes practical, because Stoicism teaches you to stay centered when others become emotional, to remain steady when attention swings back toward you, and to understand that attention returning is not the goal. Respect is, growth is, direction is. Modern life trains men to chase validation, but iron mind thinking trains men to observe patterns. And the pattern here is simple. When you stop negotiating your worth, others start reevaluating it. She sees now what she underestimated, not your availability, but your trajectory. And trajectory is everything in today's world, because men who are building something meaningful become rare fast. Epictetus warned, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." And many men quit their growth the moment it threatens comfort. But you did not. You kept moving, and that movement reshaped how you are perceived. This is how Stoicism win moments are created, not through force, but through consistency, not through pressure, but through presence. You do not gloat, you do not explain, you do not chase the shift, you simply remain who you became, because the strongest position is not needing the outcome. In modern relationships, attention is treated like currency, but self-command is the real asset. And when you master that, reactions around you change naturally. Her fear is not about losing you physically, it is about losing access to who you are becoming. And access feels permanent only until it isn't. This is why Old Stoic wisdom matters today more than ever, because it reminds you that emotional storms pass, but character compounds, and men with iron mind discipline understand that clarity is victory. You do not punish distance, you do not reward panic, you simply continue forward, because the moment someone realizes you were the prize is the moment you must remain grounded, not inflated. As Nietzsche said, he who has a why to live can bear almost any how. And your why is growth, purpose, direction, not reaction. When she sees that you are not anchored to her response, her respect deepens, because independence is magnetic in a world addicted to reassurance. This is how Stoicism win principles apply to modern life. Stay calm, stay intentional, stay focused. Let evolution speak for itself. The lesson is clear and it is simple. Losing interest is not the power. Becoming more is the power. And when you commit to that path with iron mind resolve, reactions will come, masks will fall, and truths will surface. But your job is not to manage them. Your job is to keep moving forward, because mastery is not about controlling others. It is about commanding yourself every day without exception. Section 6, she rewrites the story to protect her ego. When your interest begins to fade, something quiet but deeply revealing unfolds beneath the surface. And most men never realize how significant this moment truly is, so slow down and pay attention. She feels the shift long before it becomes obvious. Don't assume she is unaware. She notices the change in tone, the delay in replies, the missing curiosity, the emotional distance. And when that realization lands, her mind moves swiftly to protect itself. Instead of sitting with the uncomfortable feeling of being less wanted, she subconsciously rewrites the story. That is how the human mind preserves dignity. She doesn't say, "I feel rejected." She tells herself, "I wasn't that invested anyway." She doesn't admit disappointment. She reframes it as clarity. In her internal world, the connection suddenly wasn't that special. The chemistry wasn't that rare, and you were never exactly what she was looking for. Be clear about this. This is not a tactic to hurt you. It is not a plan to deceive. It is an emotional reflex, one of the most common psychology tricks the mind uses to stay balanced, and it plays a central role in female psychology. When vulnerability appears, the ego steps in and smooths the edges. Don't confront her version of the story head-on. Don't correct her memories. Don't list facts or moments to prove what you shared. That only makes her hold the new narrative tighter. You must understand that once the story shifts internally, it becomes a source of stability for her. Admitting she cared more than she lets on would mean admitting she felt exposed, and that is not an easy place to stand. So she stands somewhere safer. She may appear suddenly composed, even upbeat. She may act as if your distance doesn't matter. She may lean into independence and certainty. Don't be fooled. That calm is often self-soothing. That confidence is often reconstructed. This is female psychology working quietly, efficiently, without drama. And here is where many men misstep. They panic. They try to revive the old dynamic by over-giving, over-explaining, or over-pursuing. Don't do that. That only validates her rewritten story that you were never aligned to begin with. Be steady instead. Be grounded. Let your behavior remain calm and consistent. Silence, when handled with confidence, speaks louder than emotional pleading. And here's something even fewer men understand. The rewritten story is not permanent. It is provisional. It exists to protect her in the moment, not to erase the connection forever. Over time, as emotions settle, her mind may revisit what really happened. Curiosity can return. Warmth can resurface. That delayed response often confuses men, but it makes perfect sense when you understand how to fall in love at a deeper level. Love doesn't move in straight lines. It moves in waves. Emotional safety allows reflection. Pressure shuts it down. So don't rush her process. Don't demand clarity while she is still stabilizing internally. Be patient without disappearing. Be present without pushing. That balance is rare, and it is powerful. These psychology tricks are not about manipulation. They are about preservation. Female psychology prioritizes emotional equilibrium, especially when pride and connection intersect. And when you respect that process, you distinguish yourself from the men who react impulsively. Remember this: when interest fades, the story changes. That is natural. Don't take it as a final verdict on your value. Be observant, not reactive. Let time reveal what remains once the ego no longer needs protection. This is how genuine attraction survives moments of uncertainty. This is how to fall in love without force, without fear, and without losing yourself. If this message opened your eyes and helped you understand what really happens beneath the surface when interest fades, take a moment to support the channel. Like the video, share it with someone who needs clarity instead of confusion, and subscribe for more real-world psychology tricks that help you grow wiser and calmer in relationships. To lock this insight into your mindset, comment the affirmation below in the comment section, and let it remind you of your emotional strength and self-respect every time you see it. Comment to remember: I stay grounded, I respect emotional space, and I understand human psychology. Your comment matters. It reinforces confidence, maturity, and awareness, exactly what keeps you steady when others rewrite the story. Section 7. She becomes hyper-aware of her value and options. When your attention starts to slip away, something quiet but powerful switches on inside her, and this moment is far more revealing than most men realize, so don't rush past it. This is the point where she becomes sharply aware of her own value and her available options, not out of spite, not out of calculation, out of instinct. Losing your focus acts like a mirror suddenly held up to her self-image. She pauses. She reassesses. She looks inward and outward at the same time. That is human nature. And this is where many men misunderstand what they're seeing. When she starts dressing a little sharper, becoming more socially active, posting more, laughing louder, or reconnecting with people from her world, don't jump to conclusions. This isn't always about replacing you. Be clear about that. It's often about reaffirming herself. Your withdrawal subtly challenges her sense of desirability, so her mind seeks balance. Psychologically, she looks for proof that she still has it, that she is still seen, still valued, still chosen. Don't take offense. Observe instead. This reaction tells you more about attraction than 1,000 conversations ever could. Be calm. Be grounded. A high-value man doesn't panic when attention shifts. He understands the rhythm beneath it. When your presence mattered, it anchored her sense of connection. When that presence fades, she instinctively checks her footing. That is not vanity. That is recalibration. And here's the part most men miss. The stronger your masculine energy was before the pullback, the stronger this self-evaluation tends to be. Why? Because meaningful attention carries weight. When it's removed, the absence is felt. That is why she may suddenly explore her options, not necessarily to act on them, but to remind herself that she can, that she still attracts interest, that she still has choice. You must not respond to this with jealousy. Don't interrogate. Don't compete. Don't try to outshine imagined rivals. That behavior dissolves attraction fast. Instead, stay centered. Be steady in who you are. This is how you attract women without chasing them. A man who remains composed when attention shifts sends a powerful message without saying a word. It says, confidence lives here. It says value doesn't fluctuate with circumstances. And here's a deeper truth worth hearing. When she feels the need to reaffirm her value externally, it often means your attention mattered internally. If it didn't, there would be no recalibration at all. Indifference doesn't trigger self-reflection. Loss does. So don't misread activity as detachment. Sometimes it's the opposite. Sometimes it's a response to feeling unseen. That is why timing matters. If you rush back in while she's still stabilizing her sense of worth, you interrupt the process. If you vanish completely, you remove the reference point entirely. Balance is everything. Be present, but not intrusive. Be warm, but not reactive. That is masculine energy at its most effective. And this is where the idea of being a high-value man becomes practical, not theoretical. A high-value man doesn't need to reclaim attention aggressively. He allows space without surrendering self-respect. He understands that attraction breathes, it expands and contracts. He doesn't confuse motion with meaning. Remember this, when she becomes more aware of her options, she's not announcing a decision. She's restoring equilibrium. She's reminding herself she is desired because desire feels safer than doubt. Don't shame that. Don't resist it. Let it pass naturally. Often, once balance is restored, curiosity returns. Respect grows, and attraction can reform on healthier terms. This is how you attract women who are emotionally grounded, not reactive, by being the calm center while others move, by not trying to manage every outcome, by trusting your presence rather than forcing it. Masculine energy isn't loud. It's stable. It doesn't rush to prove. It allows others to discover. And when you understand this pattern, you stop personalizing every shift. You stop reacting emotionally. You start leading with awareness. Be that man. Don't chase reassurance. Be reassurance. That is what separates men who lose attraction from men who quietly deepen it. Hey, my friend, if you made it this far, remember one powerful truth. Your power was never in chasing someone. It was in the moment you pulled your attention back. You didn't walk away from her. You returned to yourself. And when a man chooses himself first, he becomes rare. When he becomes rare, he becomes desired. And when he is desired, he becomes unforgettable. Here's my sincere advice to you. Stop trying to prove your worth to anyone. Focus on building your life, your purpose, and your self-respect. The right person will feel your value without you having to say a single word. Thank you for watching until the end. Remember this, when you choose yourself, you don't lose anyone. You level up.